then able to challenge for the race win in race 1 before his crash.
And particularly the Yamaha and the Bimotor, two bikes which don't necessarily have that grunt, that top-end speed to be able to fight back during a race. If you do qualify a little bit further down, it makes it that added little bit more difficult.
Yeah, it really does, and it's about having that bit of punch out of the corners and then your top speed. And at a track like this, top speed isn't the most important thing, so it is about being able to just find that drive grip through the corners. That's actually one of the strengths of Yamaha since they brought in their super concession chassis earlier in the season, and we'll wait and see if it helps them this weekend.
Remy Gardner was the top Yamaha yesterday on the combined results, 5th overall for the number 87, who comes into Ballantine Park with a brand new 2-year contract with Yamaha Racing and with the GRT Yamaha team. They have confirmed he will race with them in 2026. So good to see him with some that added little bit of momentum, that added little bit of confidence. Number 87 coming into this weekend.
Yeah, and for Remy, just speaking to him yesterday, one of the key things for him is that coming here to the circuit, he seems to have a very open mind at the moment about everything for World SBK. Over the course of the last few rounds, he's really been able to gradually build himself up and just keep himself as a much more even keel, because obviously at different times in the past, the emotion has gotten the better of Remy, and he's definitely been able to make a big step forward with that over the last couple of months, and that makes a big difference as well. And what we've been able to see is a rider that's been able to do a decent job on that Yamaha package. Locatelli is the top Yamaha rider overall this season, but we've seen it where Remy at Assen and a couple of other times has been competitive, and he needs to do that here today.
The last top 5 that number 87 had was in Moss in race 2. Since then, there has been a bit of a difficult spell for him, going through Mizan, 2 retirements of long races, and then 2 top 10 finishes, but both in 9th position at Donington Park. So some work to do to see him higher up the field this weekend, but with that renewed confidence, it will be interesting to see if he can battle with the likes of Locatelli, if he can be ahead of the likes of Jonathan Ray with that battle amongst all of the Yamahas, and of course Dominic Egerter as well on that 4th, let's say, official Yamaha bike.
Just to look at the times as well, only first flying laps coming in. Lecona around about a half a second slower than he went yesterday, but it's going to be interesting to see what everyone decides to do with their tyres today, because Petrucci spoke about it afterwards on the number 9 Barney Ducati. He said that he only used 1 tyre yesterday and just tried to make sure he was able to build all the way through the day. Didn't really feel that there was much difference in the grip, just that you were sliding a lot.
Lecona, yeah, so it was 140.9 as well. Lecona very fast yesterday, 4th overall on the combined timesheets. Did have a crash at turn 10 towards the end of the FP2 session, so it was a bit of a difficult end for number 7. But that good first step, which he's been missing certain rounds from the Hondas as well, it'll help him, especially compared to his teammate Xavi Vierco, who didn't necessarily have such quick adaptation to this Ballantine Park circuit. He was down in 17th position at number 97.
Just with the white flashes on the rear there of Sam Lowe's bike, you can see that he's out there on the 0 tyre, the race tyre here, and we don't have that softer tyre like normal. Pirelli taking a little bit of a conservative decision just because we didn't have data here at this track, but for Bautista, the same situation there as well. There's a standard tyre and there's a development tyre that you can use. So the teams and riders said yesterday they actually struggled to be able to get enough time out there to really be able to assess both tyres.
And just to be able to differentiate them, if there is that white line, as you mentioned, Steve, it is a standard tyre. If there is no such tyre, we have to assume that it is probably the development option.
Yeah, standard tyres meaning the tyres that are available to buy off the shelf from Pirelli as well. So a lot of the times we have a development tyre that then becomes a tyre that the public are able to buy. So it's why when you go out to do your track day, you're actually able to technically buy the same tyres that are used in World SBK.
And for the Super Bowl session, it will have available a SCQ option. That is the extra soft option. No SCX, which is kind of in between both of those tyres, the SC0 and the SCQ this weekend. They will have the Q for the Super Bowl session. We could see a couple of riders go out in this free practice 3 session also towards the end of the session in particular, to try and get a run on that tyre and see how it works, because yesterday, of course, on the Friday, coming to a new circuit, it's not something you tend to see the riders try to go for that fast lap on the Q tyre.
I think it's going to be an interesting challenge for them, because one of the big concerns is the weather for tomorrow. So you don't really want to use up one of your Q tyres now, because you might well use that in the Super Bowl race tomorrow, just because the way that the tyre life has been here this weekend, where we've still been able to have good tyre life left at the end of longer runs. It's just been a case of you start to spin it up more, but it is still a case where you got enough rubber. So maybe for the Super Bowl race, if we were to have a dry Super Bowl race, which goes against the weather forecast, then you'd have it where we might well have riders use that Q tyre. Just for Nicola Bulica, we can see there on the number 11 machine, he's improved his time from yesterday. And for Bulica, he was 8th fastest yesterday. He's gone half a second faster this morning. Taz McKenzie, the other rider that's improved his time from yesterday.
Good job from Taz McKenzie. We haven't mentioned so far, but jumping onto that MGM Bonovo bike for the very first time this season, his very first time on a World Superbike Ducati, and immediately into the top 10 in this session. But overall, not too far off where Scott Redding had been in a lot of rounds this season in terms of his pace, in terms of that gap to the front. So it's been quite a decent job from the number 95 so far.
Yeah, I think so. He was a second off Yari Montella and Ryan Vickers from yesterday, so not bad for first day out on the bike. And for McKenzie, it's now a case of trying to step it up from that as well. And in the Super Pole session, if he's able to qualify in the front 6 rows of the grid, he's done a good job, and he's been borderline where Redding has been as well. So that's got to be the target for him.
This is going to be a big improvement from Andrea Iannone. He is 22nd currently, but moves up into the top 5 in this free practice 3 session. We caught a glimpse of Toprak Razgatlioglu, who was on his fastest lap so far this weekend, but he actually headed into the pits towards the end of that lap, so unable to improve. The rider who does improve is Nicola Bulica, moves up into the 1:39s, the 3rd rider to do so, and that is, of course, as well his fastest lap of the weekend. It's still his 3rd on the combined timesheet, but good job from Bulica in these colder conditions in the morning to be able to get back up to speed after yesterday. I say cooler conditions, it is 33 degrees, track temperature 25 degrees at 9 a.m. here in Hungary, so still very, very warm conditions, but cooler than what we could expect if we do have a dry race later on. Very quick look into the pits. Here's Toprak Razgatlioglu, and we've got a glimpse of Danilo Petrucci. Both Barney Racing riders are actually in the pit. Well, Jari Montella's just headed out now for his out lap, but Danilo Petrucci down in 22nd position. He's just had his a couple of laps out there, none of them representative in terms of the timesheet. So it'll be interesting to see if that Barney Racing team just coming into a couple of issues towards the start of this session and seeing what they can get sorted out. It wasn't necessarily the easiest of Fridays for Danilo Petrucci. He was 9th overall on the combined timesheets. Never looked quite up to pace in terms, at the very least, of one lap.
Yeah, I think for Petrucci yesterday was a struggle, and like I said, a lot of that comes down to the tyres. And if you think back over the years, the Ducati has always struggled a little bit more with the 0 rather than the X tyre. But obviously, whenever you've got Sam Lowe setting the pace, and One up there, and some other riders up there as well, it showed that there was potential with the bike, but it just took a little bit longer for Petrucci to be able to feel that comfort on it. He set his fastest lap on his last lap with an old tyre, and we'll just have to wait and see what he does over the course of the weekend. The V4R is quite a fickle bike. If it works immediately in FP1, it's going to be a good weekend for you. If it doesn't work, it can take quite a bit of sorting out for the riders and the teams.
And actually, I think Ryan Vickers in that context deserves a mention, because he was in the top 10 yesterday. Donington Park obviously was the most competitive we've seen from him, but it was kind of to be expected given his experience there. But coming here to a brand new circuit, immediately in the top 10 his rookie season on that V4R, is one of the riders who does seem to have found a little bit extra in terms of his setup here.
Yeah, Ryan is a very fast rider. We've been able to see that in his British Championship career, and this year as a rookie, it's all about having those moments where you're able to show a little bit of something else to give yourself a chance of those good results. And Donington showed that. He wasn't able to come away with the top 10 finish that I think his performance probably warranted. But for him, it's about trying to just make sure that you've got those opportunities to be able to come away with something. Just for Alvaro Bautista, we saw it into turn 1 when we were looking at him earlier on. Just really struggling to get the bike stopped into that corner. It's a really tricky section of the track, and you can easily just run in a little bit too hot into the first part of the corner, similar to those chicanes that you can see there. It's all about trying to just hit your braking point and get that bike stopped.
While we were watching that replay of Alvaro Bautista, Kalekona moved into the top 3. That is his fastest lap time of the session as well, of the weekend, a 1:39.894 for the number 7, the 4th rider into those 1:39s.
And if you think back to when we had the private test here on the training bikes, Lecwone and Javi Vierge really did not like this place. Spoke to Iker on the track walk on Thursday, and he was just like, I don't like this place. 3rd fastest. He probably likes it a little bit more now, because with the Superbike, it is different than being out there on your training bike. The Honda actually stops really well. Speaking to Vierge at Donington, that's the one thing that he commented about. He said, you just can't get this bike stopped at a track like this because there aren't the heavy braking zones. If you've got those heavy braking zones, the Honda really is able to stop well. we've got a lot of them around here, and Eker doing a good job up to this point.
Same, I like it a little bit more, judging from his comments in the media brief yesterday. I think he still does not like it anymore. It might take a little bit more than that, possibly a front row starter or a podium at the very least, for the number 7 to start considering this as a more favourite track for himself. A good job from Jari Montella now to move into the top 10 in this session. He was in the pits a few moments ago. He now moves up to 8th position. His teammate Danilo Petrucci is back out on track. He is on his out lap at the minute, so we'll see if the number 9, who is at the bottom of the timesheet in this session, can move up a little bit further and solve any of those issues that they've been having so far. But another Ducati who's starting to prove himself competitive in this free practice 3 session. We've got 4 Ducatis now inside, 5 Ducatis actually, inside that top 10. So all of them starting to find their markers, starting to find the right setup for this Balloton Park circuit. As we focus now on Nicola Buliga going through that final sector of the track, that final chicane, turn 15, 16 before that short little spurt of power there going into turn 17 and onto the start-finish straight.
Just looking at it as well, Toprak's just left the pits, Lowe's, Locatelli have left the pits, and Jonathan Ray as well. So let's see what they end up doing on their next run, because this is when they might well do a little bit of a fresh tyre run just to see what it's up to.
A word on Buliga, 39.6 is the second overall fastest lap time from the weekend. Still around about a 1/10 of a second slower than what Sam Lowes was able to do on a fresh tyre yesterday towards the end of FP2, but starting to become something a little bit more representative of what we can expect later on. It must be said, Buliga is on a longish run here, so Toprak Razgatlioglu now starting a fast lap, Danilo Petrucci starting a fast lap. This actually may be closer to what we can expect in the Superpole session. Still a few tenths to be found.
Yeah, Toprak's finding a few tenths of a second there. You can see 2/10 of a second up, just shy of 3/10 of a second, and really finding it now. Petrucci's finding something as well, so we'll see what Danilo can do at the end of this lap. We haven't seen anything representative from up to this point.
Somebody going long ahead of Toprak there, going into that first chicane of the circuit. Couldn't quite glimpse who it was, but we do have yellow flags out there. I think it was actually Bahatin Safogu just ahead of him, the number 99, a message coming on our timing screens now that he has gone onto the gravel there. Also, Jari Montella going into the gravel at turn 1. So a few riders now starting to push and starting to find the limits of this Balloton Park circuit.
Yeah, Bassani in front of us on the track as well, and for Bassani inside the top 10, just behind his teammate Alex Lowe's on the times right now. So the promoter rider is doing a good job to get what they can out of the package.
So Danilo Petrucci crosses the finish line. He will move up into first position, a 1:39.2 for himself. So from last to first for Petrucci, but Toprak Razgatlioglu immediately takes that away from him and drops into the 1:38 for the very first time this session. Although Sam Lowes is also on an extraordinary fast lap going into the final sector. We'll focus on the number 14, I'm certain, in a few seconds' time. He is nearly 3/10 of a second up on Razgatlioglu's fastest lap time. We'll see what the number 14 can do. Come around that final corner onto the start finish straight, and it will be a 38.7 for Sam Lowes, so huge improvement here towards the end of that session. He does seem to have the Q tyre at the back. That's that little purple dash that you can see on the left hand side of his rear tyre, indicates that he is on that qualifying tyre, so more similar lap times to what we should expect.
Yeah, and I didn't notice it with Toprak. It looked like it was the white dash for Toprak, so still that harder tyre for Razgatlioglu, but we'll wait and see if we get another shot of it. Toprak does tend to like to do that, but the difference between the Q and the 0 is quite profound, so if that is the case, Toprak is doing a really impressive job there.
That would be a very scary prospect indeed if he is on that 0 tyre. Can't quite see it is. It does seem to be the 0 tyre from that angle. It's a little bit difficult to see, but we might get a better glimpse of it here.
No, it's a Q tyre there for Toprak. That's okay. So everyone is out there on the same tyres, and sometimes the teams actually paint over the purple with a bit of Tipek. So, but for Razgatlioglu out there on the Q, Petrucci and Lowe's out there on it as well. And at least now we know what the pace is.
That was a very scary prospect indeed. If he was on that 0 tyre,
he does love to do that, just to have that one-upmanship on everyone else. But around a new track like this, you've got to just try and understand what's underneath you.
So here we focus on a few of our final laps. 4 minutes on the clock in this free practice 3 session. If you look at the timing sheet on the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen, a red dash means that a rider on course to move up provisionally to first position. A orange dash means that the rider is improving upon their personal best lap time. So those 3 red dashes for Sam Lowes, he's improving upon his lap time. He's already at the top of the timesheets. Doesn't improve towards the end of that session, but it's only around about half a tenth of a second slower than what he's done so far. So the 2 fastest lap times so far this weekend.
One thing that when you look at Sam right now, he's got so much more confidence on the front than we saw at times in the past. He really is able to load it up, looks really good. You can see on the comparison there to Bautista coming through turn 1. Sam's able to really load it up and break into the corner, and Bautista, a few times we've seen him into one, just keeps drifting that a little bit further away. Just a good indication that the Mark VDS bike really is giving a lot of confidence to the rider. Obviously for Bautista, he's down in 6th right now, 1.1 seconds slower, and we know that the big problem for Bautista is always with that Q tyre. Whenever you have to have that one lap, that's been the struggle for him.
Yeah, and Sam Lowes in particular has been impressive in qualifying conditions this year. Beyond that pole position that he had at Assen, we have seen him always on those 2-3 first rows of the grid, the number 14. So one of the riders who does manage to get the best out of that time. He's also a rider who tends to go for the harder option when it comes to the race as well. We saw it in Donington Park. He was on the SC0 there, if my memory serves me right. So a rider who does seem to go back and forth with that, but getting everything out of all the different tyres that Pirelli bring to all SBK.
Yeah, I think we've just seen a rider that's made a big step forward, and it's always easy to forget with Lowes. The most poles in Moto2 history, a lot of race wins, but more than anything, a lot of wins where he was able to ride away from the field. You think back to Jerez for his last Moto2 race win a couple of years ago. He was able to put himself in a position where you just ride away from everyone, and to do that in Moto2 is always difficult.
This is good from the Honda. Zicolo Kona moving up to 4th position towards the end of his lap, and Xavi Vierka down in 20th. He will move quite a lot higher, does move into the top 10, so that's both of the factory Hondas inside the top 10s, just shy of the 139. Saw Xavi Vierka 6,000th of a second off that. A few riders do move further up. Remy Gardner moves up to 7th position. A lot of fast laps coming in towards the end. We only had 2 riders in the 139s yesterday. We've got 11 in this free practice 3 session. Of course, our fastest top 2 riders, Sam Lowes and Toprak Razgatlioglu, into the 138. So all the riders starting to find around about a second compared to what they did yesterday, and tight margins all around as well, because beyond Lowes and Razgatlioglu, who do have that little bit of a pace advantage, we've got around about a second now for the riders in 3rd, Andrea Locatelli, all the way down to Bahatin Sofoglu in 13th. Here's Jonathan Ray. He doesn't improve upon his lap time on this lap, but he is stuck in 8th position now for number 65, so a step forward for himself as well in terms of 1 lap pace. Also a step forward from Andrea Janonic coming. He should improve upon his best lap time in this session, but still slower than what the number 29 was able to do yesterday. He does improve now. He's the only rider who hadn't improved so far in free practice 3. That's a 40.1 for the number 29.
The interesting thing is that we've basically had a proper run through for what everyone can do for a single lap on that Q tyre. And like you said, Lowes and Razgatlioglu have a bit of an edge over everyone else. We can see Dom Jager here, all 4 of the official Yamahas up inside the top 9. Well, just the top 10 now it looks like, and that's a good effort, and shows that the Yamaha's made a bit of progress. Obviously, you spoke to Paul Denning yesterday during the course of the free practice 1 session, Anthony, just talking about that lack of rear grip for Yamaha yesterday, but they're coming good here with the Q tyre.
They are indeed coming here with the Q tyre, and as I alluded to earlier, it's important for the Yamahas in particular to be able to start a bit further up the grid, because when it comes to that, let's say, battling with other riders, it is a bike which doesn't necessarily have all the tools at its disposal to be able to fight with some of the other manufacturers. So a good job from the Yamahas. A bit of concern potentially for the BMotors. Alex Lowes is down in 13th position, not quite getting 1 lap in the number 22. Of course, we don't know if he's been out on the Q tyre or if he's used a fresh SC0 tyre in this free practice 3 session, but himself in 13th position. Axel Bassani down in 19th. All of them starting to struggle as well, and Garrett Gerloff as well on the Kawasaki struggling a little bit in 17th position in this session so far. So those 3 riders with a lot of work to do ahead of the Super Pole as well, and riders who we've seen at the closer towards the front of the field in recent rounds.
Yeah, and it's one of those things in the Super Pole session, if they're still down the order, then they'll be worried about it. But right now, you've got to just focus on what you can improve in the next hour and 40 minutes before the Super Bowl session to then be ready to go once we're able to have the times that actually matter.
Iker Lecuona might have had a lap cancelled at some point there due to yellow flags or track limits, because he has been demoted to 11th, but he provisionally moves up now to 5th position on his lap time and his final lap, so that will be at 1:39.4. All the riders on the grid now setting their last laps of the session. It's only Ryan Vickers who is provisionally on course to improve his lap time in this session. He should move up from 10th to 9th. He's going off the start-finish straight now, the number 17, and he remained in 10th position. So that's all the lap times from this free practice 3 session set now, and it will be Sam Lowe's top at Razgat Leoglu and Andrea Locatelli is your top 3. So good job from Locatelli as well to make that small step forward as we see this replay from Iker Lecuona going around the final corner. And whew.
Yeah, you can see just how tricky it is through there, and the bumps are very visible there once you're able to look at that bike skipping across them. But with the Q tyre for the Hondas, we saw Lecuona up there, and top 5's a really good effort from him, and you really hope that he's able to put that together in the Super Bowl session as well, because the Honda has a lot of potential and Iker needs a result, because looks like Jake Dixon is signed and sealed to go to Honda, and you'd presume that'll be announced at the end of the summer break for MotoGP. But for Honda, they need results. For Iker Lecuona, if you want to be on a good bike for next year, you need results as well.
Always love a good spark slow-mo there, although it was quite safe, I think, for Iker Lecuona there, considering he just finished his lap. But good job from number 7 to move up to 5th position in this crucial part of the season for both Honda riders. Xavi Vierco finishes his session in 13th position, so still some work to do for the number 97, although it has to be said that in the past we have often seen Lecuona be that little bit faster over one lap in free practice sessions before going to qualifying. Important not to make a mistake for any of the riders there. So we go through our top 3. We got a glimpse of Andrea Locatelli. Good job, as I mentioned, for Locatelli to be able to move up into that top 3. He was 11th on the combined timesheets yesterday, so still had some work to do himself. Some difficulties yesterday. He's found a little bit of pace today. We're just getting an indication on the timing screen. There has been a crash for Tito Rabat and Jari Montella at turn 7. So hopefully both of those riders okay. We haven't seen what has happened there, and it was on the cool down lap, so a bit of a bizarre incident in any case, but no further indication of those 2 riders. We focus now on Sam Lowe's, our fastest rider from free practice 3, our fastest rider from free practice 2 into the 1:38.7s for him. So that's around about 0.8 of a second faster in what he's been able to find on that extra soft SCQ tyre compared to what he had on the SC0 yesterday, which will be the race tyre for this weekend.
A bit of pressure now going into the Super Bowl session for Sam and for the Mark VDS team, because the expectation is that they're going to be there for it, and we've seen it in the qualifying sessions just how good of a job they've been able to do this season, and they'll be aiming for that pole position.
They seemed to be quite relaxed yesterday, even at the top of the timesheet, so no pressure to set pole, Sam. So here are those final results from free practice 3 and the fastest lap times on this weekend for all of the riders on the grid. Top 3, Sam Lowe's, top at Razgat Leoglu and Andrea Locatelli, followed by the Ducati of Danilo Petrucci, Iker Lecuona with the Honda, making it 4 manufacturers inside the top 5. Nicola Bulega finding some pace, but still down to 6th position, still hasn't been able to contend with the front positions so far. His teammate Alvaro Bautista dropped all the way to 12th position in that session with that final flurry of laps, so some work to do over a single lap for the number 19. A few of the riders further down the field. Combined practice lap times, and they are the same result from free practice 3. So good opportunity to mention a couple of other riders who've qualified, who've set fastest lap times further down the field. 3 Yamahas with Remy Gardner, Jonathan Ray and Dominic Egerter inside of that top 10. So 4 Yamahas overall counting Andrea Locatelli, and Ryan Vickers actually completing that top 10, so good job from the number 17 again. Here, a word on the Bimotors in 15th and 14th. Axel Bassani getting a faster lap time towards the end of that session, but still some work to do for them over a single lap. Lap summary: 2 stints for the number 14 and setting his fastest lap time towards the start of that session, just getting 5 laps in. perhaps as a little bit of an indication what we can expect in the Super Bowl race on Sunday. Top back Razgatlioglu, another 5 laps for him as well on that SCQ tyre, 138.9 at the start.